The new ACC in 2023. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. We break down the game we all love each and every day. Best discussion, debate, and analysis of college football right here. Thanks to you and your contribution. Please like the video. Share the videos out on social media. You enjoy the content. Guess what? Others will as well. And not everybody knows that we're here talking college football with you. Check out our next live call-in show. We go live with you every Monday at noon. Thursday at 6, Friday at 9 Eastern time. Let's get right to it. The ACC has made a move to abolish divisions and go with a 1 versus 2 seeded championship game starting in 2023 and a 3-5-5 system announced about a month ago. And now we know what those primary rivalry common opponents are for each particular ACC team. So how did they do? In one phrase, the ACC nailed it. Well done, ACC. Is it a perfect format? No, but that is not possible because every school, every program has a different number of true rivals. Some have 1, some have 2, some have a bunch. So they could only protect so many games, and they wanted a standard 3-5-5 model. Not exactly what I would go with, but I like what the ACC did here. They solidified regional rivalries. Also ones that aren't necessarily considered rivalries, but they hail back to the Big East days. Boston College, Syracuse Pitt, protected. Also, the North Carolina schools that are so much the core of this conference going way back to 1953, they were generally honored. Look at Duke, North Carolina, NC State, Wake Forest. That's exactly what Duke should have as their 3 common opponents. The Wake Forest designation of Duke, Georgia Tech, and Virginia Tech, that is the weakest of the selections of the 14 teams by far. Wake Forest should be playing North Carolina. They should be playing NC State. However, there was a priority given, obviously, to NC State and its rivalry of sorts with Clemson. So the math does not work perfectly that everyone can play all of their rivalries or regional rivalries on a regular basis, but because of the 3-5-5 format, those games are only going to be missed 1 year at a time. So keep in mind that the ACC no longer plays those division round robin games and doesn't see a particular team for 6 years. Everybody in the ACC will see each other at least every other year. Good move by the ACC. There's a few primary opponents that have little or no connection, like Miami's got Boston College and Louisville. Don't really make sense, but again, they're placeholders. They had to be made to keep with the format. Florida State, Syracuse doesn't matter. Georgia Tech, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, again, don't matter, but it's not the end of the world. They eliminated that ridiculous Virginia Tech, Boston College series that was played every year. Completely unnecessary and did not in any way connect those 2 programs, although they have played every year for about 15 years. Who is the toughest common opponents, primary opponents? Who has the easiest 3? In one look at it, all I had to do is say Florida State has to play Clemson, Miami, Syracuse. That is by far the toughest 3 common opponents for anyone, is that Florida State 3. And the weakest, again, at first glance, I picked out Wake and said Duke, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech right now and for the foreseeable future, the easiest primary opponents designated to any team in the ACC. So I did the legwork and we went through the last 5 years of ACC records. Guess what? My first glance proved out to be true. The toughest 3 goes to Florida State. Over the past 5 seasons, Florida State's 3 of Clemson, Miami, and Syracuse have a record of 78-47 in the ACC. That is followed by Georgia Tech, also having to play Clemson. And when Clemson has by far and away, it's not even close, the best record in the ACC over the past 5 years, then you're going to have that for the teams that have to play Clemson every year. It skews so much in Clemson's favor in regards to winning percentage that it's difficult to find 2 other opponents that make sense that are going to pull back and pull down that winning percentage. You see down the line who else has the tougher and easier, based on the last 5 years, primary opponents. And again, at first glance, it appeared as though Wake had the easiest 3, And yes, they do. Over the past 5 years, Duke, Virginia Tech, and Georgia Tech have gone 49-76 in the ACC. But generally, great job by the ACC. And I don't know how they could have done it better within the 3-5-5 format. How will this change the ACC championship game? The history of the game goes back to 2005. So there have been 17 ACC championship games. The Atlantic is typically stronger than the Coastal. And when I say typically, I mean just about forever. Going back for the past 10 plus years, it's been Florida State, then Florida State and Clemson. Then Clemson took over in 2014, 2015, and it's been Clemson ever since. The Coastal Division has struggled. Now, before that, Virginia Tech was strong in particular, and really also Georgia Tech held it down pretty well for the Coastal Division and won a number of ACC championships prior to 2012. But since 2012, it's been all Atlantic Division. Now it's a 1 versus 2 seed. How would that have changed ACC championship game history? Actually, not as much as you would think. The game would have been exactly the same. Take out 2020. Of course, Notre Dame was included into the ACC. That's another issue. There were no divisions, and Clemson Notre Dame played in the ACC championship game. But besides that, 2021 and 19 and 18 and 17, the last 5 ACC championship games would have been exactly the same, even with a 1 versus 2 seeding. So the Coastal, of course, the schedules would have been different. That would have altered the records, but we don't know what that would have been. But based on the results on the field and the standings, we would have had the same conference title game all those seasons. 2016 would have been different. Not Clemson, Virginia Tech, but Louisville at 7-1 with only a loss to Clemson would have had a rematch with the Tigers in the championship game. 2013, instead of Florida State Duke, how about a Florida State Clemson rematch? Both 7-1 in the ACC championship game. 2012, Florida State Georgia Tech would have turned into, yes, once again, Florida State Clemson. Seminoles won the regular season meeting. There would have been a rematch in the conference championship game. Then you've got to go all the way back to the first 2 years of ACC conference championship play to see where there would have been different matchups in a 1 versus 2 game. Virginia Tech, Florida State played in 2005. That would have been Virginia Tech, Miami, because the Canes were 6-2 and the Noles 5-3. And then in 2006, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest would have turned into Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech because the Hokies defeated Wake head-to-head. My thoughts on the ACC and the transformation with no divisions and a 1 versus 2 seeded conference championship game and the 3-5-5 format doesn't look real good for Wake Forest, but that's as good as the ACC could do. There's an uneven number of true rivalries for each program, and the ACC did just about as good as they possibly could. They nailed it. Good job, ACC. We will enjoy the ability of teams and the opportunity for teams to visit each campus on a regular basis and see everybody in the conference every other year. Makes total sense. ACC thumbs up. Please like the video, share the videos out on social media. You enjoy the content. Others will as well. And we'll see you next on our next call-in show right here at the Voice of College Football.